But yeah, it's been like building a whole new app because we've, not only are we, we're adding the, the other major cross chain protocols like THORChain, Chainflip, and Rango, in addition to what we already had with Maya. But in order to do that, we actually had to just essentially rewrite the whole way that swaps worked in general, so that now it can quote the swap across all four protocols simultaneously, and then the user chooses which protocol they want to swap through, and they may choose it based on best price or how fast the swap will complete, or how or just buy the protocol, like if they prefer one protocol over another. So the new LeoDex V3 UI, when you quote your swap, it just lets you pick whichever options are available. And for some routes, some routes are available on some protocols, some routes aren't available on others. So this also adds a pretty significant number of assets to LeoDex for swapping that weren't available before. So it definitely opens us up in terms of other assets, like Solana's on there now. The whole base blockchain is on there, and a ton of other assets. So all those assets weren't available before, because we only had whatever was on Maya. But now we have whatever's on Maya, THORChain, Chainflip, and Rango. Rango has a lot because it's also an aggregator. So we have just a ton of new asset options with the LeoDex V3 update. And then obviously you also get a lot more efficient swaps, because now it's allowing you to choose from which protocol has the best quote at that time. So again, whether that's based on price or based on speed or a mixture of the two, you can choose. Ben Haas said, what is the total number of assets? Technically, we can do pretty much any asset because of Rango, but we've limited it. I think we're about at something around like 100 assets can be swapped on the new LeoDex V3. So it's about 100 assets. We've chosen, the major ones. And there's a reason why we're not doing like every single asset out there. But I think in the future, it might be possible. Like on Uniswap, for example, you're able to put in a token address, and then you can swap with even like the most fringe long tail assets. For now, we're just going to focus on these like top 100, and then we'll slowly add other ones in, possibly just added an option where you can choose whatever you want based on the contract address. And then you just kind of have to accept the disclaimers about, different assets and possible scam assets and whatnot if you're trading in the long tail of crypto, which I think pretty much everyone here knows. But when you look at like a LeoDex user, they may not know that, or accept those risks.
So if I understand this correctly, the benefits, to summarize, of what's taking place with LeoDex version 3 is, number one, the ability to swap into a lot more assets than you could before. And number two is you have the ability to choose in many, if not most instances, some instances there may only be one pathway. You can choose your pathway based upon the metrics of either speed of transaction completion or cost, or some variable thereof. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll get the best way to look at it is you enter in your input and you enter in your output asset, like any other swap module, and then it will tell you it'll quote all the available routes, for those assets, and then you'll just get to choose from them. So I'll quote in a swap and then put the screenshot in the threadcast so you guys can see it. But let's see here. I'm putting that in the threadcast now. So you'll see in this screenshot I'm sharing, I put in 15 ETH in the input, and I put in Bitcoin in the output. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see routes. And that populates after you've put in the assets and the amount that you want to swap. And then it shows you Chainflip is currently the best price. THORChain is the fastest. And then below that, it has Maya and Rango quoted as well. which are just kind of subpar in terms of the price and speed. So it actually recommends the best price swap. And then the second one will just be the fastest, like literally which one will complete the fastest. And then you can kind of decide, and it shows you also if you take a look at that route component. If you look at the bottom right of each quote, it actually shows you the amount of transaction fees and the time. So, for example, that Chainflip one is showing. Let's see here, $1.09 is the total fees on this swap, and 13 minutes is how long it'll take to complete. And then if you look at the THORChain option, which says faster, it's going to be $43 in fees, and it's going to take 6 minutes. So you can choose, like, if you need the swap to be done faster, you obviously will pay a little bit more in fees. And then Maya below that says $16, and it'll take an hour to complete the swap. So, and by the way, these routes are not static. So it's all happening in real time. It's pulling those quotes in real time directly from those protocols. And then if you sit on this page, actually every 30 seconds, the quote expires and it will auto renew the quote. So you'll actually see it load. So every 30 seconds, and there's a little countdown timer, every 30 seconds, you'll actually see the quote expire and then a new quote populates, because the prices are always changing. Like if someone else swaps on THORChain, you guys know how liquidity pools work. The value of the swap may change. So wherever you're going to get the best price may actually change. And wherever the fastest swap is going to happen may also change, because there might be, like, for example, if a whale comes in right now and does a big streaming swap on THORChain, it may actually take longer to do the THORChain swap. So the quotes expiring every 30 seconds helps you get the most real-time accurate estimate for both the time it's going to take for the swap and the price of the swap.
So if I'm reading this correctly, that even through THORChain, a $22,000 swap costs about $40, but if you go through Chainflip, it costs $1. I'm not familiar with Chainflip. Is there a lot of liquidity on there? Is Chainflip usually that much less expensive? What's the story there? Because I mean, $1 to swap $22,000 is nothing. Hell, $40 to swap $22,000 is nothing.
Yeah. So it's taking into account the affiliate fees, the price of the assets, any fees on the network itself, so Ethereum and the Bitcoin network, and then also any fees on the protocol layer. So when you kind of combine all those things, you can also get, if you guys are familiar with the aggregator at all, you can also get a little bit of arbitrage in terms of those assets. So like, for example, the price of pools, the price of a liquidity pool is not a static thing. It's always changing. So like if someone right before you swaps Bitcoin to Ethereum on THORChain, that's going to actually change the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum on THORChain, because it imbalances those pools. And then there's arbitrageurs who are always coming in and changing the balance back. So the price of Bitcoin, for example, on THORChain right now might be, just to keep it simple, it might be $80,000. But the price for Bitcoin on Chainflip might be $79,900. So that means that if you're swapping ETH to Bitcoin, it actually may be a lot more efficient to do it on Chainflip in this particular moment, because Bitcoin's cheaper on Chainflip. And that just happens. That's like a happenstance. Like it just, it's always changing, like I said. So the liquidity on Chainflip is good, but they have less liquidity than THORChain. But there is a difference in how Chainflip actually works. So it without getting too technical, it opens a channel for your swap, and you're actually swapping with brokers on Chainflip. It is still decentralized. It's a decentralized cross-chain swapping system, but it's built a lot differently than THORChain and Maya. So you're swapping through this channel instead of the way that Maya and THORChain work, where you're actually swapping through a vault. So like the Maya and THORChain protocols have obviously a similar setup, because Maya is a fork of THORChain. Chainflip is a whole different setup. That actually their liquidity is actually hyper efficient. So like with less liquidity, the swaps can actually be more can actually be cheaper on Chainflip. So, and that's not for every route, but that's for some routes. I've noticed, especially like Bitcoin and Ethereum on Chainflip is very cheap. So yeah, that can always change in real time. So like while it might be $1 now, it could be $50 on Chainflip. You know, if you requoted this swap, say 2 hours from now.